There's a new book out by the beat writer, St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Dave Matter is our guest. The book is called 100 Things Missouri Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. Dave, welcome back to Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
This is like a Heartbreak Hotel book, right? You go through all the broken-hearted memories of years gone by.
There's a few moments like that, but it's 100 chapters, so not all 100 are heartbreaking. Exactly.
Okay, are they ranked from 100 down to 1?
I'd say the top 10 or so are more prominent figures that people should know, or prominent teams or moments. And then after you get outside, I'd say probably the top 20. It's a little bit more random.
Yeah. 100 Things Missouri Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. Is it me, or does it seem like when they went to the SEC, you sort of lost some of that history with the Big 8 and the Big 12? So the younger group growing up now won't appreciate the history as much because they don't talk about it much anymore.
I think the younger generation doesn't appreciate history, period. I don't know if it matters whether it's a different conference or not. So, yeah, I think this is any younger Missouri fan, a millennial, a college student, somebody just out of college that's knowledge of Mizzou goes back to, say, the SEC move could really benefit from learning about how great this program was in the 1960s and the things that they were able to do for a brief time in the 1990s, and then the early years of the Gary Pinkel regime when the program was rebuilt into a consistent winner. So, I do agree with that sentiment for sure.
Must have been fun to write this book and sort of go back and sort of debate and argue and sort of figure out all the great memories and all the fun times.
It was, because the publishers. This is a series, and there's this book has been written about other teams, major league teams. Derek Gould wrote the Cardinals version a few years back, and the cool thing is they let you pick the 100 chapters. So it is really up to me to pick out the people, the games, the moments, the things that people need to know about Missouri football, and we included men's basketball in there too. So it was a lot of freedom there. And it was a really great experience.
One of the probably one of the biggest ones. Where did you rank that Missouri-Kansas 1 versus 2 in the Pinkel years a couple years ago? Right, that has to be right up there.
It's in the top 10. I'll say that much. That game was epic for its historic proportions. It was something that obviously had never happened before between those two programs, and never will again. And so much was on the line that day, not to mention the rivalry itself. So, and it turned out to be a great game. Even if you're a Kansas fan, and I doubt many are going to buy this book, they have to admit it was an exciting game, not the outcome they wanted. Obviously, the
whole country, right? The college football epicenter was right here, Missouri, Kansas. It was a great day.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, other big rivalry games were going on that day, but none of them meant what Missouri-Kansas meant that night in Kansas City.
Where did you put the 5th down game against Colorado?
It's high up there too, just because it was, it has a part in not only Mizzou history but college football history, because Colorado went on to win the national championship that year, and it's one of the great epic blunders in sports history, not just college football or Mizzou, and it's so hard, I think, for younger people to even just comprehend what happened that day in Columbia, because instant replay would have taken care of that thing in minutes. But obviously they weren't using replay back then, and that's how that mistake was made.
Just a point of order, Dave. Colorado won half the national championship, but they needed a 5th down and a phantom clip in the Orange Bowl or the Sugar Bowl.
It's even disputable that they scored the touchdown on the 5th down. I think instant replay would have ruled that he wasn't even across the line there. So that game was just full of controversy.
That's what makes the old Big 8 so much fun, right? All those rivalries and stuff. Talk about Norm Stewart years, right? I mean, that was the glory years of the basketball program.
It really was. I mean, I think he's probably underappreciated on a national level because he never got to a Final Four, but he did everything else at Missouri. I mean, he won so many games. He put such an emphasis on winning the conference, and maybe, to a fault, because I think some of his teams were a little beaten up by the time they got to the NCAA tournament. They had some unfortunate early exits in that tournament, but they did so much during the regular season. He produced so many stars. The style of play under Norm evolved so much as the caliber of recruits did too. So yeah, he's very high up there. I'll say he's in the top 5. Put it that way.
The book is called 100 Things Missouri Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. The biggest heartbreak has got to be either Tyus Edney, because it was in the NCAA tournament, but the Chevin Wiggins kick against Nebraska, that's got to be right up there too as a heartbreak.
Yeah, it really is, because again, it's similar to the fifth down, same end zone for one, but also Nebraska went on to win the national championship and couldn't have done it without that win in Columbia that day. And I think that, I interviewed several of the players that were involved in that game from the Missouri side, and 20 years later, I mean, that loss still really eats at them. They're haunted by the memories of what happened in that end zone, especially the offensive players who were kind of helpless there and couldn't do anything about it, had to go to overtime. And just at that point, Nebraska had all the momentum in the world. So another really epic, historic game that happened at Mizzou's expense. I
was at the Nebraska news conference the following Monday, I guess, or Tuesday, and they brought in Chevin Wiggins, and they said, "Did you kick the ball?" And he goes, "Yeah, I kicked the ball." And the sports information director came over, whispered in his ear, and he was like, "No, I didn't kick the ball."
Yeah, because technically that would have been a penalty if they would have known that he did it, on purpose, because you can't do that, obviously.
Where do we get the book, Dave?
You can buy it Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It should be available in bookstores around the state, also at triumphbooks.com. But it came out last Tuesday, and we're really excited about it.
All right, 100 Things Missouri Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. Dave Mather, beat writer for the Missouri Tigers and newly crowned author. Dave, thanks for checking in. Talk to you down the road.
Great. Thanks.